Hi everyone, welcome to Difference Frames the World, a channel where you can see the world differently. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification so you will not miss our videos uploaded every week. Today's topic is the competition between China and the United States, and why we believe America's measures to stop China's rise will not work. China has been a continuous and uninterrupted civilization for over 5,000 years, and it has overcome numerous difficulties and defeated countless invaders. The Chinese nation is like a sponge, ready to absorb foreign elements, so most nomadic groups who fought with the Chinese in history have eventually become part of the Chinese family, like the Hans, Mongols and Manchus. Most other countries in the world are merely countries, and they have a short history of less than 100 years as independent nations. The Philippines is a good example. Since it was first named by the Spanish after the heir to the Spanish throne in 1542, the Philippines had been a Spanish colony for more than 340 years, till it was ceded by Spain to the U.S. in 1898, becoming an American colony. Although the country was granted full independence in 1946, it is still heavily influenced by the U.S. The dispute between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea is mainly because of the tension between China and the United States. Without the U.S. at its back, it is least likely that the Philippines would confront China. We can say that the United States is behind most, if not all, activities against China, like the so-called human rights issue in Xinjiang and Tibet, Taiwan separatist moves, disputes in the South China Sea and East China Sea, and daily military provocations near the First Island chain. When people talk about the worsening relations between Beijing and Washington, they use the word competition, not confrontation, and they focus on economic and technological areas, not the military field. To some extent, it is correct. A military confrontation between two nuclear powers is disastrous to the world, not merely to the two nations involved, which is why it is improbable for the U.S. to launch an all-out war with China even if some warmongers need a war to stop China's rise. It will be the last option for the U.S. to oppress China with its military power directly, as it knows better than any other country the perseverance of the Chinese on battlefields. The Korean War in the early 1950s taught the U.S. military a lesson that is impossible to forget. Even if the problem with Beijing can only be solved by war, the U.S. will push its proxies to fight China, not by itself. Japan has been deliberately chosen to serve that purpose, and the U.S. is remilitarizing it to confront China in the West Pacific. In September 2024, Japan sent its modified quasi-aircraft carrier, JS Kaga, to the U.S. for F-35 training. JS Kaga is one of Japan's Izumo-class helicopter carriers. If it can operate fifth-generation stealth fighters, Japan will likely do the same upgrades to other similar vessels. Those vessels are officially termed multi-purpose operation destroyers instead of aircraft carriers, even if they can operate fixed-wing fighters, because Japan's pacifist constitution limits Japan's military. Modifying JS Kaga into an aircraft carrier marks a significant step in Japan's defense strategy under its reinterpreted constitution, a victory of Japanese military resurgence that China and other Asian countries are seriously concerned about. Australia is another nation equipped to offset China's increasing influence in the Pacific Ocean. The US, Britain and Australia formed AUKUS, a military coalition to equip Australia with nuclear submarines. It is noteworthy that both the UK and Austria changed their leaders, and the retiring US leader should have forgotten the names of those two fellows permanently. Back in 2007, the assassinated former Japanese Prime Minister initiated the Quad mechanism to engage the US, Japan, Australia and India in the cause of cornering China. The security dialogue was suspended between 2009 and 2016. In November 2016, Donald Trump and Shinzo Abe met and agreed to pursue a free and open Indo-Pacific, showing Donald Trump's interest in reviving the quadrilateral security dialogue to counteract China's Belt and Road Initiative. Donald Trump claims to be one of the very few U.S. presidents who did not launch a war, but he officially started the trade war and tech war with China once he returned to the United States from Beijing, where Chinese President Xi Jinping and his wife had treated him like a king. In December 2018, the U.S. even coerced Canada to arrest Meng Wanzhou and detained her in Canada for 3 years. However, the competition between China and the U.S. was not started by Donald Trump, and it had begun much earlier than it seemed. For instance, Capitol Hill passed the Wolf Amendment in 2011 to stop China's aerospace development, prohibiting NASA from using government funds to engage in direct, bilateral cooperation with the Chinese government and China-affiliated organizations from its activities without explicit authorization from the FBI and U.S. Congress. China's space technology has developed smoothly without cooperation from NASA, and ironically, the Wolf Amendment adversely affected NASA, making it improbable for U.S. scientists to use China's space station after the retirement of the International Space Station in 2030. According to recent news, NASA will use Elon Musk's Dragon spacecraft to replace the ISS and pay SpaceX $843 million to help decommission the retiring space station. NASA cannot even bring its spaceman and spacewoman back and has to seek Elon Musk's help. Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams, two stranded NASA astronauts, will have to wait in orbit until February 2025 before Elon Musk can take them back to the Earth. A BBC report says they feel grateful to stay longer in space, like two kids enjoying their extended time in Disneyland for 100 days when their parents only bought four-day tickets for them. In a previous video, we discussed how the US lost the tech war to China. Today, we dive deeper and discuss how its export controls have successfully forced China to become the only country globally to make lithography machines independently. Please note that Holland does not make lithography machines on its own. As the only supplier of EUV machines, ASML relies on parts and technologies from all over the world. ASML's EUV lithography machine is one of the most complex tools, if not the only one. Until today, no single country can make it on its own. China may become the only exception. It already has a working EUV lithography machine prototype and has achieved critical breakthroughs in making an EUV machine. It is only a matter of time before China has its high-end semiconductor making tool. The latest news shows that China is expanding its capacity to produce legacy chips 3 times more than all other countries combined, and it is gaining an advantage in that field. As we pointed out in previous videos, the most widely used chips are not those made by EUV machines, but those 14 nanometers and above, which Chinese DUV machines are capable of. According to data from China Customs, Bank's integrated circuit exports in the first 8 months of 2024 have reached 736 billion yuan, equivalent to over $100 billion, an annual increase of 24.8%. China's high-tech products like drones, electric cars, solar panels, and electronics, to name a few, have also swept the world with reasonable prices Western manufacturers cannot compete with. The country's technology also reaches historic highs every year. In 2023, the number of patents granted to China was around 800,000, bigger than the total of other top 10 countries, including the US, Japan, South Korea, India, Germany, Brazil, Russia, Canada, and Australia. The tech war between China and the US will end soon, and time is on China's side. Besides, China is catching up with the US on almost all fronts, and in many areas, it has already surpassed the latter. Even in the military field, which the US brags about all the time, the gap between the two countries is narrower and narrower every day. Recently, China implied that its 4th aircraft carrier is on the way, and most likely, the construction of the 5th one will commence at the same time in another shipyard. Although China emphasizes it is meant to defend its land and people only, not a military race, America and its allies have felt the pressure. In the next 10 years, they will continue to employ all means possible to stop China's rise. In September 2024, several countries sent their warships to trespass the Taiwan Strait for so-called navigation freedom, following America's suit, and taking orders from Washington. Even some small countries thousands of miles away from China, like New Zealand, Holland, and Czech, to name a few, which have only a handful of warships, want to show up over the Taiwan issue, interfering with China's internal affairs. The complete reunification of the motherland, as Chinese President Xi Jinping put it, is unstoppable, no matter how many foreign forces want to interfere with the Taiwan issue. The Chinese nation loves peace and promotes harmony with the rest of the world, and the Chinese people are humble and obedient if not cornered. However, it does not mean other countries can oppress China, as they used to in the past centuries. When they corner China, the Chinese will become the best warriors. One day, China will become a superpower, economically, technologically, and militarily, outcompeting the US and other industrialized nations. That day is not too far away, and the sleeping dragon will roar proudly and loudly.